answer, and I think it's fair to say that one of the challenges that we have to, and I'd like to hear you talk about this a little, is the poor representation in the US media generally of these kinds of questions. That we, I cited the Financial Times. It's clearly not a widely read paper in the United States, if any. What we have here is a pretty rationally driven, social media platformized media ecosystem that tends to reproduce a fairly negative worldview, certainly of China, but anything that's not allied with the United States over and over again as negative. And so we have, to all intents and purposes, a propaganda system at work, which doesn't allow the breadth of views and the complexity of the relationship between the two countries to actually be comprehended by the populace and by the population. Seems to me it sets up a pretty good set of conditions for keeping fueling, throwing coal on the Cold War, as it were, to make it closer to a hot environment, but certainly the environment of just pointless commentary that always demonizes the other side.
Oh, indeed. I mean, when have we seen the corporate media actually cover things that Xi Jinping says or things that the Chinese foreign ministry says? All of their responses to the information war, all of their responses to US policy. We don't get that in the corporate media. And that's a huge problem, because what that automatically says to those listening to the corporate media, those even streaming, even in the independent media, we don't get that side. We don't get that side of the story. And that sends an automatic message that that side of the story is illegitimate. And that part of the information war aspect of the new Cold War is to label and to frame the Chinese perspective as completely illegitimate to the conversation, because the old yellow peril Orientalist, like racist image of Chinese is, oh, well, they're controlled by a dictatorship, right? The Communist Party of China does not allow any so-called free thought, so we can't believe anything anyone says. And then that lends even more credence to these horrible attacks on CGTN journalists. We saw the Houston consulate get vandalized and closed summer of 2020 in such a horrific way. All of the, even recently in the last couple months, there was a Chinese student who was held for more than a couple of days without like food in an airport in Houston, and then deported back to China, right? All of the closing of the Confucius Institutes, right? All over and over and over again, all of this kind of cultural and information war aspect of this new Cold War just legitimizes this narrative that the Chinese side is illegitimate. And so we not only do we not get it, but even if we did, it's likely that a lot of Americans wouldn't be able to hear it right now. And that's what I think is really dangerous. Yeah. We see the polls, right? The Gallup polls that say that the vast majority of people in the United States have a negative worldview of China, nearly 80%. And during, I think it was like the second, third, I can't even count the waves. They were even during this COVID-19 historical moment, we saw more than half of Americans polling that they believe that China should pay reparations to the world for COVID-19, insinuating that a lot of people do think that COVID-19 not only was first discovered in China, the first cases to be known were in China, but they believe that China is the reason why this problem exists in the first place. And so I think that's I think there's someone in the background, but I think that this is a huge problem. I mean, it's this growing xenophobia, which disallows even the possibility that the Chinese side of the story could be heard and possibly could be a more accurate version of the overall picture of U.S.-China relations at this moment and how they've soured.